everyone, today we are going to talk about Fed raising rates by 0.75 percentage point. Holy cow! Largest increase since 1994. So, officials signal a much more aggressive path of rate raises to fight inflation that is running at a 40-year high, guys. So we know about the inflation. This is probably the most hottest news out there.
Okay, so the Fed Reserve approved the largest interest rate increase since 1994 and signaled it would continue lifting rates this year at the most rapid pace in decades to fight inflation that is running at a 40-year high. Officials agreed to a 0.75 percentage point rate raise at their two-day policy meeting that concluded Wednesday, which will increase the Fed's benchmark federal funds rate to a range between 1.5% and 1.75%.
So last increase of 0.75 percentage point was back in 1995, which was here. This is overall interest rate. This on the side is overall interest rate. So look at the length of the vertical line under the circle. Vertical line, this length from here to here. Overall rate at the side, 0.75% increase from mid-step. From here to here it increased. Each small segment. This segment here, 이렇게. So from here to here. Okay, now I understand it. So the overall interest rate is a record high right now, but the increase of how much it increased from last time to right now is huge. So from 2020, it's here to here then? So last time they increased it, that's why it's from here to here is 70.75 percentage point. But other than that, there wasn't anything about how much they increased it until this year of 0.75 percentage point. Then I was confused. They usually try to make small adjustment, but now we're chasing inflation by increasing the percentage point.
So new projections show all 18 officials who participated in the meeting expect the Fed to raise rate to at least 3% this year, with at least half of the officials indicating the Fed funds rate might need to raise to around 3.375% this year.
So when they talk about this rate, what is it? This rate, rate, the target rate, overall interest rate. So I saw a news where they said the interest rate increased maximum of 8.6%. Which one is that one then? That's the Fed funds rate, and this is the overall interest rate.
We're not trying to induce a recession now, let's be clear about that, Powell said, but he said it was becoming more difficult to achieve what is known as a soft landing, in which the economy slows enough to bring down inflation while avoiding a recession. That represented an implicit concession that the risk of a downturn could raise as the economy digests tighter monetary policy. It's not going to be easy, there's much bigger chances now. Fluctuation and spikes in commodity prices could wind up taking that option out of our hand. So S&P 500 rose 54.51 point, or 1.5%, 3,789.99, snapping a 5-day losing streak. U.S. government bond rallied after sliding in recent weeks in a sell-off that had pushed yields to their highest level in more than a decade. And last week, Labor Department reported that consumer price index rose 8.6, so this must have been driven by higher energy prices. Raising fuel prices and supply chain disruptions from Russian war against Ukraine have sent prices up in recent months.
People had projected a 0.5% interest rate increase, but since the inflation was so high, they increased it to 0.75%. So they're increasing the cost of money like 0.25 percentage point more than expected. So does this mean that everything's gonna cost a lot from now? Like my cheese that I like in Korea or US is going to cost much more? Or wine or beer? People will spend less money to fight inflation. So doesn't this mean, if they're spending less money, guys, doesn't this mean that that people aren't going to invest in stock because the living cost is going to be so much that they don't have time to invest in stock? So for a while then, the overall stock prices are going to decrease? Prices won't decrease for stock, but they won't go up fast as fast as other stocks like Tesla or other things that we've seen before. And Powell Obar just said that soft landing is actually difficult now because of how much the inflation rate increased. What caused the interest rate to go up to 8.6? Then can I think of it as COVID started the increase and then ended with the war? Since we also spent a lot to help Ukraine, which caused this situation. There's no single reason. So there's so many reasons. And it just led to this current situation. How was this even preventable? First thing, let's talk about what are the factors that caused the current inflation. Number one, we have supply chain. Two is low wage labor issue. Three, oil price increase. Maybe four is war. But I guess 3 and 4 is kind of connected. Government gave too much money. So free money out. Russia decreased oil supply. So that's kind of war. This is like the main 5 reasons that the inflation increased to 8.6%. Ta-da! So, and it does say raising fuel prices and supply chain seems like that's the biggest, but there seems to be other reasons that people are looking into. Shutdown in China factory. Wow. So supply chain. So each big category contains small issues that's going on. So we have war, probably stuff in like the actual sunflower oil we read about earlier with Ukraine making the biggest production, blah, blah, blah. Those type of issues. Supply chain has China involved with their shutdown and everything. So
continuing, Mr. Powell's comments indicated that the Fed will have to keep jamming on the brakes even if growth struggles, and the market didn't get it. Ms. Mizra warned that market would face higher volatility until inflation is clearly diminishing. Today, everyone is cheering, but if inflation has not peaked, we will have to go through the stress of last few days all over again. The Fed has faced growing criticism in recent weeks for not acting sooner to withdraw aggressive stimulus it deployed through most of last year.
So even this is another issue of inflation that we earlier talked about.
Powell took a bold decision today, and it sends the kind of message the economy needs to hear. Expectations of a larger rate raise and a higher path of rate raises had convulsed bond markets in recent days. Over the 5 days through Tuesday, the 2-year Treasury yield had climbed up by 0.7 percentage point, the largest such increase since 1982. Wednesday rate increase marked an abrupt change from unusually precise guidance delivered by many members of the rate-setting Federal Open Market Committee, who had indicated in recent weeks that they would raise rates by a smaller half percentage point. Has said the committee had decided to approve the larger rate raise because of concerns over data on inflation. We just talked about that, which economists says play on significant role influencing actual price raise. The committee vote was 10-1, dissenting in favor of a half percentage point or 50 base point increase.
So normal, it should have been 0.50 percentage point, but they did 0.75 instead. This means that the economy is in so much trouble. And 0.75 is like 40-year high increase. Wow.
Wednesday rate increase returned the Fed benchmark rate to its level in early March before the Fed slashed it to nearly zero as the COVID-19 pandemic. So in March, that's where we talked about the inflation rate, going nearly zero because of free money at this point. But interest rate in the US and many other wealthy nations remain at very low level historically. Mr. Powell said he expected the central bank would raise rates to level designed to slow the economy. We think that policy is going to need to be restrictive. At the same time, Mr. Powell said he saw no sign of a broader slowdown in the economy. You're seeing continuing shifts in consumption, but overall spending is very strong. Wednesday projections show officials see the Fed fund rate peak around 3.75 by the end 2023.
So they did kind of like a prediction on how it's going to be, I guess.
Such a pace increase would nevertheless represent The projections revealed that all but one officials expect the unemployment rate to raise over the next 2 years, which stood at 3.6% in May, ending at 3.7% this year before raising 4.1%. So Fed fund rates and influence other consumer and business borrowing throughout. Mortgage rate has been slammed by the prospect of tighter money. So they talk about the mortgage rate increasing, even the retail issue that we noticed earlier. So others said they viewed Mr. Powell's decision as a sign that he was more committed to bring down inflation even if it risked a downturn. He If he's willing to blow up carefully laid plans to deliver a hawkish surprise, we should take him at his word that he will stay the course.
That is all for the Fed news. Wait, if the unemployment rate increased, doesn't saying that a lot of more people are not employed? So they're expecting people to lose their jobs in the future? That's why they're expecting the unemployment rate. It's not like that's a good way to put it, because it's not like they're saying, oh, like people are just gonna quit work. It's because that the cost is going to increase and that a lot of people are gonna be laid off. Okay, so this was Fed's news for the 0.75 percentage point increase, or not increase, sorry. Raising the rate by 0.75 percentage point. A couple of questions is, do you think this was a good decision? Obviously, it was a 10-1 vote, but what are some of your thoughts related to it? And how long will it take until the inflation rate kind of becomes normal? This had to be done and it should have been done sooner. So when would have been a good time to start this? Right after the stimulus check has been gone on? They had no other choice. They will keep raising until inflation seemed to plateau. Some people are making the calculation that they get more to sit home and get unemployed than to pay for gas and go to work. So it's not even during COVID pandemic. You guys are thinking long time ago, back in 2016, that this should have been done. I thought we just mentioned like the supply chain and everything, so I thought it would have been just after COVID, but why are you guys going that far back? So how long do you think this would last of the cost of living increasing? Because if the inflation doesn't decrease, even if he raised the rate by 0.75, I mean, it probably would, but doesn't it mean he would continue increasing the rate because to help decrease the inflation? So that means it's going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 years that you guys are mentioning. The living cost is going to be so crazy. Like products, food, computer games. I don't know about computer games, but so if the gas stops getting expensive, the inflation should slow down. But then for the gas to stop, the war should stop. Increasing rate is the only thing he can do. Question is how fast or slowly he's gonna raise it. Yeah. So you know how he raised it today by 0.75? Do you think he would raise it again by 0.75? Or do you think this would be the only time it increased this much? One more time? US could ease all the restriction on the oil industry. So what are some restrictions? They need to reopen the Keystone pipeline? Oh. More than 0.75? So you guys are thinking it might even go up to 1 percentage point. It's that bad right now? I guess if it's 8.6, but so 75 BPS to 100 BPS is not out of the question. So they are in the future thinking about it. So you will have to pay a lot more for housing now than you would have last year. So people who bought houses earlier, good for you guys. Because that means you guys are gonna get married then. Because you need a house to live. When they raise rate, people spend less, prices come down. In conclusion, honestly, I didn't think that it was this big of an issue. And I was shocked that this type of issue happened long time ago. Even maybe before COVID time. But COVID and the recent war and what led to the outcome of COVID has increased, or I guess made this on fire, and now the inflation rate is just super high. So I guess look out for another increase of the percentage point. Yeah, good luck trying to buy a house and with the recent living cost increase. So that is all for this news. If you guys want to add anything related to this, feel free to comment below, or come to my Twitch live because we have smart people. But other than that, I am done. Follow sub, you know the rules.